Good evening, everybody, and welcome to 107.9 Radio Fremantle, The Source, with Robin and Benjamin. It's Benjamin here with you tonight, and this is our very first pre recorded interview that we're doing with a very special international guest. All the way from Denver, Colorado. On the line with me now is Candace Fries. Candace is the president and founder of a very special organization known as Abundant Hope. And we're going to get right into this interview right now. So, Candace, I'm going to just start from scratch if it's okay. I'd like you, in your own words, to introduce exactly what is Abundant Hope, why you decided to take part or to create this organization, and what you hope to achieve in its existence.
Well, the organization is a partnership with, we'll just call it Jesus for the time being, who is returned. And I've been in contact for many, many years. And in training to take on this role, it's the actual Second Coming organization. And one of our original goals was to cause or encourage many people around the world to create messianic missions. And that has not been as successful as I would like, because it seems like the word Messiah and messianic are big, big words.
And there's a lot of preconceived ideas about exactly what that means, I guess. So we got to be careful with that. Now, can I just ask? So Abundant Hope, how old is it now?
We officially went public on January 1st of 2005, but I created the organization some 4 years before then.
So before then, it was just a. I mean, can I take that further back, Candace, if I can? Can I ask you about what why you decided to start Abundant Hope? Was there a turning point? Because we talk a lot about the show about what's going on right now. We talk about the events of this time. Robin and I talk a lot about how a lot of the structures that we're used to, the structures of civilization, the earth itself, the planet itself, a whole range of aspects that make up the paradigm of our existence are changing rapidly and dramatically before our very eyes. You really have to have your head in the sand to not understand that there's something going on. And what Abundant Hope does so well, and why I constantly refer to it in the program, is the way in which you've gone out there with yourself and the other members there on the staff at Abundant Hope, and you bring together all this information, and you're kind of doing. I like to think you're kind of doing what we do on the program here. We try to bring a whole range of information to the people, and for them to kind of, because people have a set idea for a lot of the time. We watch the mainstream news, we watch the mainstream media for our news, our views, and our opinions, and we try to bring more information that people don't hear about in order to bring a more balanced idea about the world we live in, the paradigm that we're currently living in. And I feel like Abundant Hope does that very well. Was that what you had in mind when you brought up the organization? You mentioned it was in partnership with, Jesus, as you mentioned. We can get into exactly what that means later. But is that partly as well why you created Abundant Hope? Was it really to become more of a force of change on this planet?
Oh, definitely, totally a force of change, but a force of change encouraged and supported by what people mistakenly label God, but are members of the hierarchy of the universe. This planet has been in a state of isolation for a very long time, and this effort is to open the planet back up and get her people to rejoining the cosmos and the other civilizations that are out there. We are not one simple, lonely, little, lonely world, and it's time to grow up and become part of a very, very much larger paradigm. So our goal has been a lot on education of all sorts, and it's simply gone where it happened as the organization grows and people have joined into it, and it's just where we are now at the present time. We are trying to continue the giving of truth that was started many, many years ago on Earth from the higher realms, and it's been difficult to keep that truth in front of the people. There's
Yeah.
always interventions going on.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well because what I think Abundant Hope does very well, and again,
One of my
it's
friends
an
is online.
aspect that doesn't get referred to when people look at the changes going on. When people are focused on the mainstream media, they are very much what I'm talking about is the spirituality of this place, the spirituality of people, of human beings, of this planet, the way in which we're all one organism, this planet and the humans on it, and also the solar system and all the beings that surround us. There's like would you agree that there's like this, I don't know, spirituality has really kind of taken a back seat in what's driving humanity to step forward. And I think as well, Abundant Hope really draws strong links with spirituality and what it means to be a human being, and rediscovering those links in order for us to move forward in a successful way. Would you say that's kind of correct? Was that accurate?
Yes, it's accurate. The spirituality of man has greatly fallen, I think, in the last 100 years or so, in particular, with the expansion of materialism and the delivery of goods, and the focus has become what you can acquire, what money you can earn, and there's not been focus on one's personal spiritual growth, which is something I talk about a lot. You have to take conscious charge of your own life. Most people are kind of pulled around by their nose, and your nose really ought to be leading you, or let's say more than the nose.
Yeah.
But we try to encourage people to live a very conscious life in which they meditate frequently, and meditate can have more than one word meaning. And meditate in this way, I am going to suggest that people at the end of the day look at what their day did and see where it went and see where they could improve, and look at the successes. And this is not done much by the majority of people on this planet, at least that I have contact with. They don't have much introspection about their lives.
And I think as well, you might agree with this. I'll venture this forward that a lot of the time I think people get confused with spirituality and religion, right? Because we talk on this program a lot, Candace, about what the difference between spirituality and religion, and that people are not necessarily going to discover their spiritual side or their divinity, if you will, through established dogmatic religious principles, i.e., okay, Catholicism, Buddhism, all these kind of isms and established dogmatic beliefs that don't
Message.
necessarily have to do with divinity, but of a standardized range of ideas and beliefs that govern people's lives. Would you say that? Would you agree there that spirituality and spirituality and religion are not necessarily intertwined? You can have spirituality without necessarily following a dogmatic religion.
Yeah. Following anything that's dogma is not the development of spirituality at all. The development of spirituality is the consciousness of oneself to grow and move forward and learn.
Message.
And religions, I've been in an awful lot of churches around where I live, including even some New Age ones, and it's all dogma, and you cannot grow your spirit if you do nothing but follow dogma put out by others.
Right.
You have to create your own dogma of sorts, if you want to use that word. I mean, people have to consciously create their own path.
Right.
It's not done any other way. And people go running around searching for the path. In my younger years, people got in this country into something called transcendental meditation,
Uh-huh.
and as a path. And then they discovered later they were all be giving the same secret word. They had to keep their word secret. These things don't need to be secret,
No.
But
No.
the meditation that they taught in transcendental meditation did not go anywhere. It didn't teach people to connect with the God or Father within them, or higher source. I think it was more a relaxation technique than anything else. But
Yeah.
it contributed nothing to spiritual growth. And there have been, at least in this country, and I assume other Western sorts of countries, a lot of books put out, and even on some TV programs, which I don't see much here anymore, but at one time where people were encouraged to get journals and journalize their life. And that was an excellent suggestion. And that is teaching coming down from higher realms.
Yeah.
But too much of that even has been developed into people that chase money, into journalizing how to chase money better
Yeah.
and things
Yeah.
like that, the lesser spiritual nature. But it's a start, but I'm seeing that wanting some. It seems to be going away.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's interesting, a point. I think it's important because in my experience, I'm 30 years old, and I notice a lot of people my age, when you suggest a more spiritual path, when you talk about spirituality, they automatically assume it's religion. There's this real, um, you know, um, misperception going on, I think, and I think it puts off a lot of people because of people's experience with religion, because of people's experience with, what it's done. For example, Catholicism, which I was raised in. This is obviously something I can draw more experience on. The priests, the problem with the things that they've done in terms of banking practices, with child molestation, with all these things, people don't want to have anything to do with religion. So then when you talk about spirituality, I think they're misperceived to automatically think about religion, and then they don't want any part of it. Would you agree? Do you think that's kind of, there's some misconceptions there?
Yeah, I would agree with that because it has come to mean that, and those of us that do not ascribe to religion, when we post on various boards around the internet, we're often openly labeled atheists because of it, and because it's really being pushed that if you don't have a religion, you're an atheist and you have no concept of God and you're antichrist and everything else,
Yeah.
and this is really kind of sad. And in Christianity, at least in evangelical Christianity in this country, that I've had a bitter taste of,
Yeah.
uh, that is really prevalent. The huge prevalence that if you do not believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, you are going to go to this terrible hellfire for
Yeah.
all eternity. And that's not something that's part of nature. It's not something that's part of God. And who would want a God to begin with that told everybody that you don't believe on me, just like I say you have to believe on me and go to church and contribute your 10% every Sunday, that I'm going to roast you forever. And
Yeah.
I find I can't get people out of this Santa Claus sort of thing with them, because the body cannot be roasted forever, that, it's physical.
Yeah.
The soul cannot be roasted at all. So,
Yeah.
uh, certainly not forever.
Yeah.
So, and I can't get them beyond that thinking. They just will not look beyond that. And some of us work on some forums trying to tell people that we don't want your image of this wrathful, vengeful God that loves you only if you kiss his ass and
Right.
sends you to hell otherwise.
Right. Right. You're so poetic the way you say kiss his ass, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's very true, Candace.
Well, sometimes using the more coarser language is the more accurate way to express things.
Absolutely, and it's one that we can more familiarize ourselves with. Now, can I just clarify as well? I didn't clarify that on the intro. That Candace Freeze, this president of Abundant Hope, you're in Denver, right? You're in Denver, Colorado. Is that correct?
Yes.
Great. So just when you're referring to my country, just to clarify, she's not in Australia, folks. This is Fremantle Radio. Here we're in little old Perth, Western Australia. We're actually doing the big international broadcast right now. We're talking to Candace in Denver, Colorado. So she's referring to United States of America, and they do have an incredibly large evangelical scene there, don't they, Candace?
Oh, yes, it's huge, and it's encompassing. Most of these churches were independent, the evangelical churches, of the other organizations and grouping themselves together. But now all the churches are being gradually turned into this. I've visited, Lutheran, Catholic, Methodist, Episcopal churches, and they're all going the same direction.
It's 8:45.
And it's less than subtle now. It's really becoming overtly this evangelical direction, and their services are all becoming very much the same from church to church. There's purposeful mind control in all these churches. All their ministers and clerics go to seminars yearly and sometimes more often than that, and they're told, what to take back to their memberships and, how they're supposed to program these people. And
Put
I'm
on the
really
hard
seeing it
sell.
spread. Yeah,
Yeah.
on the hard sell. And the Baptist churches have fully gone evangelical, and the Assembly of God organizations they're completely into that movement now,
Yeah.
100%.
Now, Candace, if I can, I'd like to press you a little harder. I'm gonna put you under the microscope a little bit, if I might. Now, I'd like to press you further about the spirituality, because one of the problems that we have, I think, is that people don't quite understand why it is so important to develop their spiritual self and their divine self, because in reality, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, Candace. A lot of people don't see a place for God in this world. They don't see a place for a spiritual self in this world. When you look around and you're surrounded by the density of the planet we live in, you look around, it's about money, your mortgage, you got to put your kids through school, you're dealing with pollution, politics, one's the left wing, the right wing, they're all the same. It's all shitty politics. You know what I'm saying? How can you somehow elocute for the listening audience and myself here a little bit more about why it is so vitally important right now for you and I, for humanity, to be looking at this issue of spirituality and looking at this issue of our divinity, and why we need to pay attention again?
If we don't pay attention, we destroy the world. It's that simple. Spirituality, if you want to live your life eternal, the life eternal lasts trillions of years. I don't think most people quite realize how long trillions of years are.
It's a difficult concept to grasp. I
Yeah, you
admit
don't
that.
want to stay at the bottom of the ladder that whole
No
time.
way, no
Every
way.
person that walks the planet, they're let me just finish this. Their goal has to be to their planet, and look at this mess that we live on. This is where the people of this world have brought their planet. They've allowed the hierarchy of this world, the elite, as we often call them, to run amok over them, because they have no sense of spirituality and devotion to the condition of the planet. And the planet cannot raise up until people get devotion to their planet and not to their mortgage.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, and I have to admit, it's one of the more depressing kind of visualizations when you take stock, when you do as I do, and Robin does in the program. We do a lot of research, as you do. We have a look at the state of the world we're in, the amount of wars that are going on, the pollution, the degradation, the way we treat animals, the planet, the entire mess. When you look at it in a under a magnifying glass, and you take a snapshot, it really goes to show exactly the state of our not only our spirituality, but I think our morality and our ethical compass. How far we've deviated from the direction in which we need to go. And if we want to continue to have a direction, and we want to continue to exist on this planet and move forward and evolve and ascend with this planet, this direction is not the direction. We gotta put the brakes on. We gotta turn around, and we gotta do a real quick, smart double take, and work out where we're gonna go. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yes, and that is what spirituality is about. Consciously looking at where you're going to go, and that remains the absence. It's not about, well, New Age has another whole concept of spirituality that's just as bad as religion is, and developing your spirituality is simply developing your mind, your care, your compassion, your morals, your ethics. It's all of that sort of stuff, and honoring life as it exists, and you must honor the life of your planet. You cannot exist without all the rest of nature on the planet, and we're killing all of nature. When we kill nature, we kill the ability of the planet to produce the oxygen alone that we need to breathe.
Yeah.
And a lot of people simply do not have this global realization. But spirituality and religion are two entirely different camps, and everybody first must serve their soul and who they are and develop themselves. And until people do this and become aware, they are not going to change their planet. And this is your home. There's no fluffy heaven to go to.
Yeah.
There are better planets than this one that you get to live on as you mature your soul and your experience. But there's no fluffy place to go just because you go to church and believe on Jesus or whatever religion that you are involved in. We have to make heaven on this planet. It's always going to be a hellhole until we do that.
And okay, well, that's pretty clear, and I think that's a good enough reason, if any, if you ask my opinion, why we should be embracing some sense of spirituality and take stock instead of keeping our head stuck in the proverbial sand. Can I ask you a little bit about, you talk about what, number one, we can develop our spirituality. We can take stock of ourselves, who we are, where we're going, why we do what we do, and, what in fact we should be doing instead of this mess that we're creating. A lot of people think as well, that's again, I'm playing devil's advocate here, Candace. A lot of people say, well, I can change my thinking. I can think happy thoughts. I can, meditate my 15 minutes and get all zen, for 10 minutes a day. But that's not going to change zip. What's
It
that going to
doesn't
do?
it doesn't change anything. That's just another version of religion.
So what
It
can you
changes nothing. You have to get involved. You have to pick a project and you have to get involved and change.
and
And
that's
meditating doesn't change anything.
and
It doesn't
that's
change the people around you. It doesn't change your world. It's coming into action. Spiritual living is active living,
right,
taking action. And yes, I know that's what's New Age has done. Like you said, go meditate 15 minutes a day and your work's over. No, it's
right,
not.
right.
You still have, 23 hours, et cetera, of the day.
Yeah, yeah,
In which you must change things where you work and with the people around you that you live in. The globe will not be changed until each village in it changes, actually.
right.
Start at the village level.
Right. And this is a perfect opportunity, I think, to segue a little bit because you did mention at the start of the conversation that, one of the aspects of Abundant Hope were for its members to become involved in messianic missions. And I think this is a little bit about what you're talking about, right? For people to take action, for people to
Yes.
take plans. Can you
Yeah.
talk about these
Yeah.
messianic missions and what you
Yeah.
mean
You
by
need
that?
to make your life a messianic mission, a life of change and forward progress. And people have religion has taught people that the world is an ugly place and we have to have one single Messiah that comes and cleans up the whole mess, and that can never happen. There's no ruling a planet with a hammer that's going to change the mess for people. People want to place their action and give their power to others instead of having their own power within. Most religions teach some version of where two or more are gathered, there I am. And you have to gather with other people that have similar projects and goals in mind and form strong groups, and therein you get your power. And most people are not forming strong groups.
And
They're not
that's
finding their power.
And that's what is that basically what you? I'd like it if you could mention that a little bit more because if you go, folks out there in Radio Land, if you visit the AbundantHope.net website, which is the flagship website there of Abundant Hope,
Are we
that's
lost?
hello. Are you there, Candace? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. You're not here all the time.
Oh, I'm
We're
sorry.
having a little interrupt. Yes, there was parts of your words that were missing. The
Okay,
connection was jumping around.
okay. I'll try again. Let me try again. You hearing me now?
Yes.
Okay. I was mentioning the messianic missions. I was mentioning the folks. I'm hearing you fine, by the way. Even if you can't hear me, you seem to be coming across just fine no matter what. So we'll just keep going.
Okay. Yeah, it
Um,
was all good there for a while. It just started to break again briefly.
okay, we'll forge ahead. Let's keep going, Candace. So I was mentioning the AbundantHope.net website that they can go there and they can check this out for themselves because you do explain in a bit of detail there about what it is to be a Messiah, to be to have a messianic mission there, right?
Yeah.
On the site.
Yeah, we'd actually hoped at one time to be funded for this, but the powers to be have not made that possible yet. But under our particular goals is that we would fund people that developed messianic missions, and which includes of obviously adding people to their groups for that greater power, and not, single people that can't accomplish much by themselves. But we were going to, and we will in the future, when the time happens, we are going to be funding groups of people to do many different things that the planet needs. We will fund businesses to develop better technologies in energy production and manufacturing. We will fund both churches and other groups that develop a clear goal as to what they want to accomplish. And then we will give them, since this is still a moneyed world and will be for a time, then we would fund these sort of things globally. We wanted to fund better housing. We want to fund the development of better transportation systems, the better delivery of food, fund the improvement of local farming to deliver fresh and wholesome food, just about everything that you might think of that will improve the conditions on the planet for everybody that occupies it, a wide variety of ideas.
Yeah, and I would strongly suggest those folks listening to this at home or on the radio, on the internet, wherever you're listening, go check out the site AbundantHope.net and check it out. Don't believe a word we're saying. Go and have a look and check out the Messianic missions. And it's true, isn't it, Candace, that the Messianic missions, it's not just these things. We're talking about any type of project, anything that would help help humanity, help the planet, moving this civilization, this humanity, this global humanity forward. The arts, not just economically, financially, or anything, but a whole wide range: healthcare, childcare, everything, right?
All of it, all of it. And
All of
getting
it.
back to the concept of strong family, because strong family is at the bottom and the top of the rung at the same time. You do not have a quality civilization without strong, healthy families that are producing strong children in their teachings. It always goes back to family.
It
If the
is.
families are not healthy, the planet is not healthy. And I would ask everybody to look around at all the families that they associate with locally and watch the huge divorce rate and children unsupervised and children in daycare and separated from their parents all the time. The family, both parents now usually have to work. At least they do here in the United States.
Yeah, here as well.
Some mothers even want to work.
Here,
but,
yeah.
Yeah, and so who is taking care of the children?
Right.
Who's taking care of the children and investing the children with self-worth and helping the children develop goal-setting structures in their own lives. All of that, the family has broken down. Look at what's on TV. I don't know what your TV is like in Australia, but
just like yours, we try to copy everything you guys do. We're like little kids, looking at Big Brother.
The poor
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Music needs to glorify life, and there's an awful lot of what some would label low class or satanic music,
oh, yeah.
and to be loving this and loving running around, too much sexuality of the wrong sort. We are really missing. We are really missing spirituality in the family and in sexual life and our everyday entertainment. These things are not worthy of what is labeled God. It's not worthy of the creation. It drags everything down, and there's a little very natural law that applies both at atomic level and social level. Like attracts like, and if you're going to put gutter stuff on and the people support the gutter stuff, you'll end up with a gutter planet. And we need something considerably better than gutter.
Yeah, well, we can't get much lower at this stage, I think, Candace.
Yeah, I keep wondering where the bottom of the bottom.
Yeah, we keep finding new lows, don't we? It's not a good thing.
We haven't found the bottom of that pit yet.
No, but we're searching. We're really digging.
We're searching for that. And spirituality is about searching for things that are wondrous, not about the bottom of the pit.
Yeah, and I'm gonna briefly interject there and mention as well. We've talked about this in the show a few months back. We talked about this idea that like you're saying, the family unit really is the basis. It's the foundation stone of humanity. Of a society. If you can take a snapshot of the health and strength of the basic family unit, the mother, the father, the parents, and the strength of the unit, you will have an idea of the entire strength and health of that society and what it is based upon. And if you don't have that healthy unit, which we don't have right now, we got more than 50% divorce rate, children without moral, ethical guidance, what we have on the TV, what we eat in our food, everything. It's such a mess. But we keep digging that hole, so we really gotta kind of find our footing again and start climbing our way back up. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, since life is temporal and of a rather short duration here, even if we lived a great deal longer, considering eternity, it's still short duration, and the future of any planet is always in the children that are produced. And if you do not produce a solid base in your children, then you're really tearing down your planet and your whole civilization, because they have nothing to grow on except this. They haven't been given ideals and goals and
No.
and worthy ideas, and they haven't had their thinking developed as a small child. You need to help children develop their ability to reason and think. And when the parents are absent from the home, how does that happen?
Yeah, and
And you can't trust it to the daycare center, nor should you trust it to the daycare center.
absolutely not. But we're kind of railroaded into that situation. I think partly, and then partly people, their devotion to money and these things that. I think you're right there. I think we really need to do an about face, definitely.
But the elite are being allowed their power here, um, because the people need to wake up to that. They're being given a paradigm that is unacceptable, and if you do not rise up against that paradigm and in positive ways, where is your spirituality and your soul strength? When does each individual say, enough is enough is enough is enough? And when do people come forward and start forming groups in which they say enough is enough and we're not going to do it this way anymore? Nobody elects their leaders. They're all chosen by the committee of 300, if we want to take that little trip right now.
Yeah, we can do that.
And you don't choose them. It's all a dog and pony show on the elections. They choose them and they entertain you on TV. And then you go vote somewhere along the lines of what you've been encouraged to vote. And then you think that you have chosen your leaders. You have chosen nobody if you have no, let's call it grassroots process of how the leaders are chosen. And there's no grassroots process. We used to have some of that in this country long ago, but it simply ceased to exist now.
Okay. Well, if we're gonna go down this road, then let's make a bit of a meal of it. I'll just double check with you though, Candace. We're hitting 35-minute mark here. Do you want to take a quick break? Do you need to get some water or something? You're happy to go forward at this time?
We can go forward for a little bit longer. I might want to take a little break, maybe at the hour point.
Absolutely, no problem. Yeah,
Okay.
no problem. Just double checking. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go in that direction now. I'll just fill you a little bit, Candace. We do talk about this a lot. We have a lot of topics that deal with these kind of things. The idea that there is controlling power in terms of the financial world, mainly, the power stems at the top of the temple there, from the financial world, and that the corporations, the head of these corporations, the head of these elite power groups, basically dictate to the rest of us how our world is run and how our governments are formed and how we are educated. The media informs us about basically every structure that exists on this planet is now currently under their direct control. And we talk about the Rothschilds a lot. We've done expose on Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. We talk about Bilderbergers. We talk about Council on Foreign Relations. All these special interest groups that are kind of the tentacle arms of the octopus, if you will. This that goes right to the very top. Now, on Abundant Hope, They cover a lot of this information as well, because this is an integral aspect to the paradigm we currently live in, and we need to grasp this stuff if we're gonna firstly understand it and then be able to think of the ways to solve some of these problems that are created by them. Do you want to go right to the top, Candace? You want to talk a bit about really who is at the top and how they dictate terms, as it were?
Well, at the very top of this world are about a dozen men. They still don't accept women into that group. They're never seen, or if they're seen, you do not know their true roles. But they are the ones that ultimately get together and decide the directions of the world, and then they feed that down to various agencies such as the Bilderbergs and the Committee of 300 and all the rest of those groups. I don't know what each country subscribes to, but
Yeah.
most of the Western countries are aware of the Bilderbergs and some of them with the Committee of 300. And we have another organization in this country that's globally controlling, and I can't remember the name of it right this minute, but it's fed to all these various different organizations according to what they do. The Committee of 300 is absolutely the group that covers the financial scene of this world.
Can you go in a little bit about the Committee of 300? What your understanding is? I mean, so there's 300 individuals, right? And they're taken from, who are these? These people are chosen, or they're?
Many of the members of the Committee of 300 are the actual presidents or leaders of the nations, and there are not 300. Yeah, there are not 300 nations, so there are other individuals that are on this. The most notable one, who is basically the chair of the Committee of 300, is the Queen of England.
She's the chair.
Pretty much so, yes. She's the common signature I see on their papers, and sometimes it does say chair of the Committee of 300 on things that I have been passed forward to that you are not going to see in your papers and on TV.
No. Okay, so
yeah, she's basically the chair,
and this group functions regularly. I mean, they're on it. They have their thumb on the pulse, so to speak, and they're constantly making they're constantly dictating the direction of what's going to happen with which country and who's going to do what to who and everything.
Particularly in the selection of leaderships of the country, and then the control of the monetary situation through the banking. In this country, we're constantly told that our central bank of the United States is the Federal Reserve, and while it is, that's a big fat lie. It's only true in a small part. The Federal Reserve is actually the central banks of all the global central banks.
Right.
It's right there at the top, and then the others are associated with it. And funds travel through all these various central banks doing, funding different things. And it's all controlled that way, which is why the world matches so well now from country to country. I think a lot of people should be observing that individual country and culture is basically being done away with. In some ways, that's not such a bad idea.
Globalization, right?
Yeah, globalization. And we do need globalization because we've become a global society, and we've got the internet, we've got travel, but the end point is what's wrong. The global society still needs to start its control from the family up, and not from a top leadership down. And that's the issue. This top leadership determines where it's going to go. We do need to, in the discovery of self and individuals and the growth of spirituality, as we grow in spirituality and we know truth, we will in some ways become more alike. Alike in what I'm going to say, alike in terms of the goals set.
Right.
Not necessarily that people are supposed to match. They aren't. They are always individuals. But we will come into a state of, let's say, alike in purpose, the purpose being the growth of the planet in very positive ways. We're supposed to eventually come into one language, and that language has already been chosen, and that's English, which is why you're seeing the spread of English to all countries on the globe. And once we all speak English, that brings us all closer together.
Right.
And, languages separate people. And spiritually, we will gradually change who we are and become more alike in our ultimate goals. We do want gorgeous travel around the planet.
Yeah.
We want to work a lot less so that we have time for wondrous things other than, getting home from work at 9 o'clock at night and flipping on the news at 10 and going to bed.
Yeah,
But,
parenting for 10, 20 minutes and then, flipping on the
yeah,
TV.
if that anymore.
Yeah.
We'll come to, some unities in our goals and expectations as a global group that we want for our planet. But this global thing right now is being determined by others who want to sit at the top of that pyramid and simply have slaves to serve them. And that's not where we should be going. And the people of this globe have to start. The elites serve to pinch you, to keep you encased, to frustrate you. And I don't think enough people are frustrated yet. That's what confuses me. I don't see enough people that are frustrated. We have a lot of people that want government to provide everything for them.
Yeah, big time here
That
in this
not
country.
contribute to it at
Huge.
all.
Huge. Yeah, it's
it's
really
huge.
it's really really commonplace now in Australia. We have more and more of a welfare state going on. Please, you need the government to pay for this, that, and every other thing, and that is our right, and we need the government to take care of us, and yada yada yada. It's kind of frightening. Can I keep on topic here just a moment? Can I ask you a little bit more about what you might be willing to talk to us or divulge about the real goals and aims of these people at the very top? I mean, you've mentioned, they want to enslave us. Now, that obviously is what it sounds like, an enslavement. But can you talk a bit more about the goals and aims and what exactly, what are their aims for us? What are the aims for the little people that they're, pushing around down there?
To get rid of the little people, mostly they don't need 7 billion servants, and that's what's coming through with our very poor food, the polluted water, the lack of the planet even can't handle 7 billion people, actually, no matter what our technology might be at this point.
It's
But
more like 500
they,
million,
they
right?
yeah. I think with good technology, about 1 billion.
Yeah.
Most people don't understand the planetary mind and how it's created. They don't see the planet as having a mind,
Yeah.
so they don't see their contributions to that mind. But basically, this has simply been a ward where a lot of galactic people were imprisoned here, and they still want to own the planet, but they don't want to work very much. They just want a few happy, lucky servants, and they basically they want to get rid of all the little guys except the necessary people to serve them, to work in the factories, to do the manufacturing, and
To
those sorts of
keep
things.
house. Yeah, to keep house.
Yeah, just to keep their house. And
Can I and can I ask then? I mean, this is I'm playing devil's advocate here. A lot of people, I think that's really hard to grasp. This idea that there are people in the world, at the very top of the tree, people in government, people in large, powerful positions of responsibility in our community, our society, and our world, who would be, well, I guess we could term them psychopathic or soulless or without
sociopaths is usually,
sociopaths, right?
yeah, sociopath is the word we use here for the soulless individual that's only
Devoid
goal
of humanity.
yeah, these people are completely dedicated to their own needs and own comforts, and they don't care too much for anybody else. It's very self-directed, the sociopath.
And I think it's quite easy for them to do what they do, or it has been at least until this stage, because, like I said, I think part of the problem as well, a lot of the people on our level, I'm talking about your average Joe kind of level, are there's a lot of good people in the world. There are a lot of good people. Even the ignorant ones, are well-meaning, and you can't quite imagine a type of
One
person
of my friends
that
is
would
online.
be like that would attempt these things, that would pollute the oceans, would poison people with fluoride and contaminants in food and water and different things, that would have these goals. I think that's one of their greatest protections, is that people just can't conceive of an idea that there are people like that who would thoughtlessly, without blinking an eyelid, wipe off, 5 or 6 billion of their fellow humans on the planet. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I highly agree with that. I think because the average nice person cannot really conceptualize.
It's
But
impossible,
that's yeah, yeah,
Candace.
yeah. They
Sorry,
don't
Candace.
conceptualize that. I've seen that all around me my whole life. They cannot conceptual. That's why even my organization has some problems trying to push the envelopes here because people cannot conceptualize that degree of evil, whatever word that you want to give to it, that
I don't know what else you can
there are
call it.
people of this sort income. And it's hard now. I think it's gotten a little bit more difficult for them to conceptualize because we have TV and the internet. And it actually is the powers to be have taken so much control of that. And there's this statement that a picture is 1,000 words. And so you see lots of lovely pictures on your TV screen and you can't go underneath them.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I don't know how to motivate people because when I can get into discussions with people where I just give little tiny subtle hints and they look shocked and the eyeballs roll. I don't know
yeah.
how. No, it's just they cannot look at it. And we have a lot of people here incarnate from really lovely worlds, and they've seen enough change in the last 20 or 30 years with obtaining TV in the manner that we have and the internet, and everybody, at least where I live, except for the very poor, have a house and one or more cars and countless TVs, in every room.
Yeah.
And to many of these people, this seems wondrous. This is wondrous living, so they cannot conceptualize what's behind it. The
Yeah.
shadow that's there. They don't see it.
And you get situations like what happened in, Libya. You get what they termed humanitarian intervention. They go in there to save the people, and in the process, NATO and the U.S. drop more than 30,000 bombs, tens of thousands of civilians dead, and they call it humanitarian, and then people believe it because
Yeah,
they say,
they
well,
do.
they didn't mean it, it was accidental. It's collateral damage, which is some
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of strange
It's a
term.
lot of collateral damage.
Right, right. And
Yeah, it
so
is. That's
people
one
can't.
of those strange terms, the collateral damage. And using the word collateral damage seems to be okay with some folks. Well, we're sorry it happened, but so it goes. But
Yes, so it
I'll
goes
tell
until
you,
it's your father or
that,
brother or mother, and then suddenly, gee, it's not collateral damage anymore. But until that happens,
yeah, it's not, yeah, until it happens to them. That is the big problem in this world is that people can't see other families that are the same as themselves. They don't see the, this division between Islam and Christianity has been made that at least Christians at any rate see people, Islamic people or Muslim people, as less than human. They're an animal of some sort, so it doesn't really matter that the children die. They can't visualize families in other parts of the world. And even when I talk here locally, I can't get that concept in. Those are parents with children. They want the best for their children, in the future, and that's not there. They're just seen as animals of some sort, and very prominent in religion. Religion makes it very easy to see others as animals and not see that perspective. We went into Libya, NATO and the United States, in an effort to steal assets that they had in the late fall and early winter of 2010. The Chinese dragons assumed control of the Federal Reserve. And I have just told everybody that the Federal Reserve is the global central bank of the central banks. So the Chinese dragons now, we go back to he who controls the money controls the world. So they are controlling the money, or at least they're trying to do that. Right now, there's a major war going on between the Rothschilds and these bankers with the Chinese dragons. And we went into Libya to attempt to acquire a lot of wealth there that was stored in that area and that we wanted. And that is why they made the leader there to be such a heinous dictator, etc. He was actually the caretaker of a lot of wealth that was in that country, and also some ancient weapons. Chinese got control of the Federal Reserve because they developed some weaponry that the bankers of the world didn't have, and we call them the Khazars on our website.
Right,
The
right. The
Yes, and
Khazars.
so yeah, so we have a battle between the Khazars and the dragons right now.
Right,
And
right. And the dragons
there
have got the
is
upper hand, huh?
ancient technology, part of the old Egyptian empire, which included Libya,
Yeah.
there that, and we could fight back with the Chinese with that, but the Khazars did not acquire that technology, and they didn't fully acquire the wealth either, but they destroyed a country of people doing it.
They did
And
very
the
well
world
at that.
scene seems to think that this is all okay.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't really say the whole world, but on the forums that I'm on that have a global audience, I'm still seeing plenty of people from many countries in the world supporting the Khazar domination.
Yeah. And I
Yes,
think
they simply do not know any better.
yeah, yeah. And this is something now I'm just gonna ask here, we're coming up to the hour, so depending on how long you want to go now, Candace, we can continue on this, or the only other thing I wanted to broach the topic, I'll leave it in your hands. We continue on this a little bit more, or I wanted to also broach the topic, at least in this first session that we do, about God, if I can. And I wanted to talk about that term, God, and I wanted to talk about your ideas of what is God, and talk about a little bit, expand on that idea, because again, part of the problem is people's idea of what is God and what they imagine it to be, and what in effect or in reality God is actually. Would you think you might want to broach this today, or we'll keep going on these topics?
Well, I think we've given enough attention initially to these other topics. Why don't we take a really short break so I can stand up and get a glass of water, and then we'll revert back to what God is for a little bit.
Okay, let's do that. You're listening to 107.9 FM, The Source, Radio Fremantle with Robin and Benjamin. You're listening to Candace Freeze now. This is the President of Abundant Hope. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, folks, we are back on 107.9 FM, The Source, Radio Fremantle, Benjamin and Robin, the first pre-recorded interview we have done ever on this show, and our very, very special first guest, Candace Freeze, is back with me after a short limber and water break. Candace, welcome back. You there?
Yes, I'm here.
Wonderful. Excellent. Now, just before the break, we mentioned that we were going to go a little bit into God. Again, we're back onto the spirituality topic. I wanted to press this point because I wanted to start to explore this idea. Maybe we continue it on a later date, but at least, Candace, if you wouldn't mind, help us to pin down, or help us to elucidate a little bit more about this concept of God, and to understand that it's not quite what most people imagine it to be.
Well, everybody is God. There is not, in the one sense, the way we understand God, a single individual that is somehow, and I use this so much with people, waves a magic wand and pops everything into existence. The entire existence of the whole creation is jointly created by both angels and men that participate in the process. And people, the reason to grow in spirituality in this one thing is to take acceptance that you are part of God and a contributing source. And whatever you throw out there goes where it goes. And you are always co-creating everything. And that's one reason to look at what one co-creates. You know, where does it go? What is it worth? Is it worthy? Is it unworthy? Because it's all God. There is one universal conscious mind of which everybody is part of that. And some people like to call it, you know, a drop in an ocean of water, but I'd really almost more prefer the use of the concept of large beaches of fine sand, and that, you know, everybody is a grain of sand on that massive beach, because you do have your own separate personal identities, but you're still part of the whole mind.
Okay,
And
I'm going to jump in. I do apologize. I'm just going to take this a little bit slower, because this is a monumental
okay.
topic. So we are talking about here, I think this is pivotal idea as well. I'd like you to kind of talk more about this. You did mention a lot of people, you talk about God, they automatically identify a separate being, a separate entity, a separate someone, whether it's a guy in a white robe with a beard down to his knees, or it's a dude with a turban, or it's some kind of floating cloud of all-seeing eyes, or whatever your version is. Most people's idea of what God is a separate entity. You mentioned that there's no separation. We are God, right? Can you talk a bit more
Yes.
about this falsehood of separation?
Yeah. Well, that's what religion has created, and that's one of our biggest problems in getting people to live a more spiritual, growth-oriented life, because they see themselves as separate God, as separate from this person with the long beard, or however you want to look at it.
Yeah,
That they can never even come close to what this person is, and that is probably the largest falsification of teaching, I assume, in just about every religion on the planet. That Christianity, because that's what I grew up in, is what I'm most familiar with. And it's tragic in that, because the one that is followed in that is called Jesus, taught about the cosmic mind, and that's not in the Bible. Well, I've read the whole Bible. I can't guarantee it's not, but if it ever was, it got taken out.
Of context.
Yeah, yeah. He taught that everybody is linked to that cosmic mind. He taught that everybody is on a journey of self-improvement, growing your soul, because...
Are we talking about incarnations? Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, incarnations is, of course, obviously one way it's done, and especially at this level on this planet, because when a person is initially created, they're stupid. They don't know anything. I mean,
Yeah.
that's self-evident.
Start at the bottom of the rung, right?
Yeah, yes, and people do not see their mind as their soul. I don't know what they think their soul is, but the soul and the mind are basically one and the same. The soul does have parts to it that are not of the mind, and there's no point in even going there. But people need to realize that their mind is their soul, and they take their mind with them through all eternity if they choose eternal life. And your mind is full of whatever junk or good stuff you put into it. And you start out stupid, and over many lifetimes and experiences, you learn more and more and more, and you gain more wisdom. And over that process, you correct all your misunderstandings with truth. And that's really what's behind this so-called karma. Karma is just refining yourself from any old shit to something worthy,
right,
in terms of your mind and what you know.
Right. Now I'm gonna jump in again here, because I can already hear it, Candace. Some of our listeners in there, because in a way, in what you're saying, it can be taken as an attack in what they consider to be, divine, what they consider to be their Lord, their God, their Allah, whatever they consider it. For a lot of people to even what's the word I'm looking about? Compare yourself to that which you consider divine, or that which you consider your God, is blasphemy. What you're saying here is that we, and whoever we take to be our creator, whoever we imagine or we know or believe to be the one that we worship, and yourself to be on the same level, in a way, is absurd for a lot of people.
It is absurd, but if we could get beyond that and turn what is considered blasphemy into truth, how many times do we say truth is stranger than fiction, or whatever that expression is? Something like that. But it is true. Everybody that can think is divine. Everything actually is divine, period. The trees and flowers and the grass are all divine. The air that you breathe is divine. Your planet is divine. It's all divine. But what is particularly divine is the ability to reason. That is what defines God.
Okay, that's pretty poignant,
Everybody
Candace.
else,
Can you repeat that, Candace? What was that last one? The ability to reason.
The ability to think and reason is what defines what some people label God. And so since they have the ability to think and reason, they are God, or part of the God force. However, if they're not willing to call themselves God, let's just call themselves as climbing up the ladder to that point, which is a fine way to look at it too. But the ultimate goal, and this is the well of first source, or the father of the entire expansive creation, is that each and every person that develops the ability to reason has the right and the responsibility of becoming like the Father, which means the Father is limitless, there is no end, and each and every soul mind has the right and the responsibility to develop themselves to absolutely the highest potential they go. And there is no lid on that as to where you can go. There is no top to reach. It never stops, no matter how advanced anybody, whether you label them an angel or man, no matter how advanced you are, there is no top.
Okay.
Just like we apparently have a bottomless pit, there's no lid. There's no lid.
Yeah. We're finding out there's no bottom either. There's no top and there's no bottom.
Yeah, there's no top in that sense. Always creating a new top. And
Yeah.
so living a spiritual life, if we wanted to define that, might say being always taking off one box and putting a bigger one there, and then taking off that next bigger box as you grow,
Yeah.
until eventually you simply do not put any boxes, because there's nothing at the top to stop you. There's
Just
nothing there to stop you.
yeah.
Just the realization of that, if that was taught in churches, oh my gosh, that's why it's considered blasphemy.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting too. I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm thinking about this idea you mentioned, that, you know, there's no separation and that we are one humanity and that we need to recognize that brotherhood or, you know, sisterhood, whateverhood of mankind. And then I mentioned as well, I'm thinking as you're talking about some of these aspects of the true nature of spirituality and the true nature of God, you're talking about incarnation, you're talking about evolution, you're talking about the Lord and be like the Father. I'm seeing aspects of, you know, religions that exist today, you know, the incarnation, the out of the Buddhism text, you know, and the be like the Father, that's something out of the Bible. So is it correct to say that there are aspects of truth within the religious teachings that most people are familiar with? I mean, there's truth in there, isn't there, amongst the...
Yes, yes, there is some truth in all of them. And I think I have considered important for a long time that people that have followed these different faith systems, if you want to call that, should be getting together and discovering the truths that they hold jointly. And I think if Christians would actually get themselves a readable English copy of the Quran, there's always translation issues, but I think they'd start discovering how much they have in common
Yeah.
about these things. And then when you find out what you have in common, you can begin to communicate with people, because communication doesn't happen between anyone that has nothing in common. We have to look at all our own friends and things. We don't hang around with people that are not like us, for example, because it's this like attracts like again thing.
Right.
And so I think if people in religion, and some of them are in some places, sitting down and discovering what is common in their systems about God, then they have something to build on and perhaps can open up to other ideas.
Yeah, and you know,
But, as long as we keep a lid on the top, you
yeah.
can't go someplace.
No,
Yeah.
no, and I think as well, you know, it does seem logical, and maybe it's just, you know, maybe I'm a little crazy, but it seems like such blatant obviousness that, if there was just a real, tangible realization amongst the people on this planet of the brotherhood, the oneness that we share in humanity, things would change. If we really understood that, if we really
Yeah.
looked at one another as brothers and sisters, as we do
Yeah,
to
we
the...
have to. We couldn't have war. If people actually looked at each other as their brothers and sisters throughout the planet, we could not have war. We could not have starvation. We could not have people in depression and in lack, because they are our brothers and sisters. And that's exactly the issue. People are not seen as brothers and sisters throughout the globe. And we have to develop the brotherhood of man, or we will go nowhere.
Yeah, and that's
Except
currently
now.
where we're going, nowhere right
It's
now.
not, once we start developing the brotherhood of man, that lid comes off.
And then
The
that
lid
lid
comes off.
can lead you straight to the stars,
Yeah,
literally
yeah,
and
yeah,
figuratively.
yeah, literally and figuratively. And we are supposed to reach to the stars. We're supposed to interact with other civilizations for other planets. As I said, we've been in a quarantine for 200,000 years, actually, and we do not have cosmic interaction with other planets, and that is what is coming up. And some people are terrified of that, and it's been put into religion that I read constantly that all these folks that are here in our sky right now are the demons. And I hate to tell people, but planets of this sort of a low vibration harbor low vibration, and you are not. It's the like it attracts like again. People of low vibration cannot interact with a more knowledgeable cosmos, and so these people that are here from other places have earned their right to be here by their behavior, and so they are not at the bottomless pit.
So
They're
you've just
taking the lid off.
okay, you've just, figuratively and literally taken the lid off two other topics that I wanted to broach with you. So I don't know if you want to go there, but you're talking about folks hanging around in the sky and also vibration, two very important topics there. You wanna talk about any one of those because we do cover those topics
Well,
such
let's
as
talk about the folks in the sky specifically right now, if you
okay,
want to,
or let's do
since
that.
I interact with them.
Okay, so what you're saying is you're talking about I'm going to say the words that we commonly know, aliens or extraterrestrials. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, let's call them extraterrestrials simply
Okay,
because they're not of this planet,
right.
and they are not evil because you cannot travel the universe until you earn the right to do so. So, by that definition of alone, they've moved beyond where we are.
Okay, so I'm going to just ask the rhetorical question for those who are not familiar with Abundant Hope, Candace. You're telling me that you're definitely a person who would say that there are people outside of this planet, there are beings, there is intelligent life, right? We're just going to say that off the bat.
Absolutely, because I interact with them every single day.
Okay,
There's not a day goes by that I don't.
she's just
And there
blown
are
another lid
craft
off.
up there, and I do go to these crafts, so I know of what I speak on that
Okay,
one.
all right. So, who are these people and what do they want? Or if they're
Well,
people, if I can call them
the
people, what are they doing
to
up
make
there and
it
what do they
very
want?
simple, the leader of the command that is here right now is Jesus Christ Himself.
Okay, the lids are just falling
Okay,
off all over the
but
place.
also with Jesus in this project are that are also here are Moses and Buddha and Krishna and
Okay,
Mohammed
all right,
and all the rest
Candace.
of them. They're all here.
You've just taken the horse and you're riding off in the sunset. We're all standing behind waving at you. Come right back now. Okay, so they're they're there, and why are they there? You're talking about Jesus Christ in command. There are extraterrestrials. That's what we're calling them. What are they doing there? What have they got to do with us?
We are at the end of a long stage of evolution, and we're going through certain cosmic energies right now. Some people have heard of the photon belt, and I talk about this thing called the wave, and we're talking. A lot of people have been told that we're hooking up with some kind of cosmic something or the other this year in December of 2012. Not totally accurate there on December of 2012, but some people are. But yeah, a lot of people sense that we are in some period of change going on, and that is because we are in energies that swirl through the cosmos right now that are affecting our solar system and changing everything about it. And these ones are here, number one, to get us through this change. They're advisors and guides to it. And the other issue,
Can I
I
just
just,
ask? Can I just
yeah,
ask?
ask something because I lost my train of
No, no.
thought
I
on
just
the second
you're
thing I was going
still
to say.
riding off on that horse. I need you to stay back with us, people who are just confused with our eyes are crossing over. These people are us. They're like us. They're like human beings. What are they?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so they're people like you and me. They're two arms, two legs. Eyebrows. You know what I'm saying? They're you and
Well,
me,
I'm
but they're
going to say mostly that there are other types of bodies in the universe than this one like we inhabit, but this is the most common body. And
because I have asked this question a lot. I ask this question a lot, but I ask it like this. I say to a lot of friends, colleagues, and these things, and I say to them, do you think there's life outside of this planet? Do you think that there's a chance that there's actually life existing outside of what we know as Earth? unequivocally, almost 100%. Yeah, of course. That I don't think we'll ever meet any. But yeah, I don't understand because I say, we got billions and trillions of stars out there. You think little old Earth is just absolutely this cosmic joke that just so happened to spark some kind of creative life that happened to have a brain and reason and these things. And they're like, no, no, obviously they're live, but they ain't got nothing to do with us. You're saying they do have something to do with us. Then I'm gonna ask you this question, Candace: where are they? I don't see anyone around. Where are these us's? Where are these extraterrestrials that are like us, our brotherhood, our brothers and sisters from outer space? Where are they?
Well, some of them occasionally just pop down from the craft and walks amongst you, and you'd never know the difference.
Well, I guess if they look
Part,
like us,
but you can look at the sky on any clear night, and I know you can go online and people will tell you that those are just twinkling stars up there, but if they twinkle and change colors, they simply are not stars, and
isn't
it's
that a
not
weather
just our
balloon or something?
atmosphere doing. Yeah, some people say it's our atmosphere doing it, but
Yeah, like gases. They
that
say it's
causes the
gases or
different color changes, but no. And if people are seriously interested in watching them, and will go out and stand for a while and mentally put a message out there, one of those things that they think are stars or planets just might actually move around and put on a show.
well,
And the
I've seen
star
that.
or the
I've seen
planet
that.
is not going to move a couple inches in the sky for you, which I have seen, respective to, if you hold your hand up in front of you, against the sky, I've seen craft move the length of my finger, and uh, the planets and the stars simply are not going to do that. And I think that's a good place for people to start to actually go out and look at what's in their sky at night
Are
and
we talking about hundreds of
consider.
are we talking about hundreds of extraterrestrials? Are we talking about thousands? I mean, how many of them out there? How many are around us right now? How many about you may not be able to give me the
Well,
top figure, but
not everybody is going to see all of them because some of them are simply too far away and others are cloaked. But
they're in
right
ships.
now, yeah, there's a force of 10 million craft in
That's
and
a lot of
around our
craft.
solar system. Yeah, dedicated to Earth right now. And the thing that I slipped out on that they're here is also the fact that man has discovered atomic energy and other energies, and he can completely destroy his world. And they are here to prevent us from doing that also, which is, I think people should be pleased with that concept.
Well, I think so. Definitely with the power that seems to be at the power of man's finger, the button under his finger, and he can press it and end everything. There's too many sociopaths with the power of that button. So, if that's the case, then I'm grateful. But talk a bit more here. Okay, so we got potentially 10 million craft out there surrounding us that we don't generally know about. They're cloaked. We can see them in the stars. These things. What about our governments? They know this is going on.
Yes, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, the reason we have the very internet that we are using right now is because these people from these craft have gone into the underground areas and provided the technology. Because as part of the growth of the global planet right now, we must have a global communication system to use, which of course is technologically very expansive, and it does expand people. I mean, I have friends like you right now all over the world that I could not have when I was a little girl because we did not have an internet.
Yeah, yeah,
And you and I can sit here talking now like we've known each other forever. We may have, for all I know.
yeah,
That silly statement, but we seem to resonate pretty good together here. But
yeah.
these things have been gifts of these people, and they are given to worlds when needed. And so this has been given. This is where all of this has come from, including the TV and your plasma screens and the fiber optic cables and all of this. This has been gifted to this world by, so let's take God a little bit further, and we're going to say the hierarchy of heaven.
Okay, so the hierarchy of heaven are here. They are in the form of extraterrestrials. There's a fleet surrounding us. They're here. Why are they here? What are they here to do exactly?
To lift this world out of oppression.
Well, that's are they gonna come in here? I mean, they're all over the movies. If you want to take them, if you would consider if the government doesn't know about it, the movie makers do, because my gosh, every single second film that comes out these days is about an alien invasion. Are they trying to tell us something? Are we expecting to see some kind of alien invasion?
No, that's strictly the work of the elite controllers who are trying to create fear of aliens. And again, I will say that they are not invading us. They do not do that. They come in and they bring education and technology and gift it to the world through the elite. And the elite had to be given an awful lot of what we'll just call carrots here in terms of money and wealth and other things for them to get this up. And you have to admit, we've gotten up on this global internet in a very short period of time.
Very short. It's exploded. We're talking about,
it's exploding. And this is all gifts to people from God and from the hierarchy. And the universe, we call it the universe. That's the word we use. Creation would be a better word because there's many universes because the creation continually expands. But it's all governed, and generally by what people call the angels. We have angels and men as the concept on this planet, and not much else or in between. But it is individuals that are involved in government. Some of them are angels, and some of them are people from other planets who have ascended themselves over the years to be able to sit on these panels of government. It says in the Bible, I don't know what the other religions say, that man becomes like the angels. And, so everything is governed similarly to what we have on Earth in structure, but not intent. The intent on Earth is not exactly holy, but it all has to be governed. There's structure everywhere. It can be no other way. And some people, I don't know if you've mentioned it to your readers or not, we're seeing a lot of craft around our sun right now.
I haven't actually. No.
Yeah. And they, SHOHO or NASA always removes those within a couple of days, so you have to capture the images and put them on your computer before they change it out. But there are craft there around the sun that are far larger than Earth, and these are from the very high realms. They're not just from other planets, and their purpose is energy manipulation, and they are doing energy manipulation on our sun at this time, and that's why they are seen there, and they do uncloak for that purpose so that they can be seen at this time.
Okay, come back. All right, I want to come back. This is more stuff we will talk about, but I want to come back to this idea. All right, so we have extraterrestrials here. They are working towards bringing humanity through to that next stage, to that next step. We talk a lot about the program about 2012, but not specifically 2012. Mentioned many times in the program, this radio program, that it is an energetic change that has taken years. It began before 2012, and it can very well go on beyond 2012. But it's not like, from one date, the 31st December 2012. Everything stops and like a switch, it changes or something. This energetic shift that is going on right now, in conjunction with the work of those, as you mentioned, in the hierarchy, it's going on over years of time. This is not something that just happens overnight, right? This has been going on for a while.
Yeah. There's no magic switch. It has to come gradually, and as to the uplifting of man on this world, only man can do that. So they have to the hierarchy has to deal constantly with where the people on this planet are, and what technology can be released also depends on where people are in their spiritual development, which is their mental development, if we wanted to stick another word to spiritual, and their ethics. There are some things we cannot have because there's not the ethics and morality yet, and won't be until the people take control and put ethical people into office, instead of being, dragged around like we are. But yeah, it's a process. It takes a lot of time, and there's no magic wand to any of it. It takes time. Okay. And the energetic cycles that we're in from the cosmos at the moment, like the photon belt, we are going to be in these energies for thousands of years, and we slip gradually to it and change with it over time. And these energies are bringing new information via cosmic mind that is interacting with the mind of individuals on this earth and uplifting them. And these energies are also changing the DNA. Some people have heard that we have lots of DNA we don't use, junk DNA it gets called.
Yeah.
these energies coming in are rewinding that and activating it and changing the human form that we use. We need actually a much better form that we've got. One of the reasons that we feel separate from God is that our body temples could be better and they are going to be better. The brain is going to grow. There's going to be more connections in the brain. These are forming in many people now, which is behind the statement in the Bible that even old men will prophesy eventually. The human form is going to become more connected and have more abilities, which it becomes then a better temple for the growth of our minds.
Okay.
And,
All right.
and our abilities to interact. And you can't just wave a magic wand and say on December 12th everything changes. It cannot work that way.
Well, I'm gonna put it to Candace, that what we're trying to what we talk about a lot on the show. We talk about a lot of the changes that are going on. We talk a lot about the energy that is currently hitting the planet, but we haven't enunciated a lot about this idea of extraterrestrials and that the direct interchange they're currently having with us. And I tell you right now, because I constantly I hear it in my head what people say all the time. I don't see it. There's no proof. You've got this woman who's in charge of this organization who's telling us about things that we can understand. We talk about politics. We talk about religion versus spirituality. We talk about war and peace and tangibles that we see and feel and hear. And then you're bringing in this aspect that most people are going to say, oh my gosh, okay, you've just lost me because there's no proof and there's no understanding. But it's an important thing to bring up, I think, because a lot of what people imagine to be true, a lot of people who think they know what their eyes tell them, they think they know what their ears hear, that their tongue tastes and their nose smells. They say, this is what I see, hear, touch, and taste. This is my world. But in reality, and this is true in most facets of our world and our paradigm, in reality, what we think we hear, see, smell, and taste is not true, or it's not exactly what we think it is. And so we shouldn't be shutting out this facet, even if you want to take out and say, okay, fine, I don't believe in the fact that there could be extraterrestrials, these things, then okay, you can't believe in your God because you don't really have any proof in your God. You can't believe that in a whole range of things that you take as a belief. What I'm trying to say is here that I hope that people hearing what we're hearing tonight, and certain aspects they can ring true with, and certain aspects they've never heard before or they've never had to kind of try to wrestle with in their brain, is to keep an open mind, right?
Yes, that the open mind open mind even would define God in that sense. You have to be open. Part of our problem here is the fact that our body temple does not have certain connections, and our body temple pretty much does only see, hear, smell, etc. Because the brain and other systems, energetic systems of our body are very, very undeveloped. And so in that regard, some people can't perceive it, but I think they can still allow themselves to remove the lid from their head and consider that there might be more than just what the body senses. The body is strictly a sense organism. That's all it does is sense for you. It doesn't think. It doesn't think for itself in that regard. So you're only informed by what your body can inform you of. And every being in the creation, no matter how they're defined, has some sort of form. Your soul or your mind just doesn't float around there in some odd way. You have to have a form to work in. And these are the forms we work in on this planet at the time, and they're insufficient. So we can't always blame people for not having an open mind, but religion certainly helps keep a box on that mind. They can expand themselves, and their bodies are expanding, but it's a time-consuming process, and we are growing brains and body systems that will detect all these things in due time for nearly everybody on the planet. And so that is something that is to come, and that is part of the transformation of Earth, that it's been in this quarantine, and so there's really been a lid kept on Earth in that sense. and that lid is being removed, and their bodies are going to see more. And a lot of people are very frightened about it, and that's why religion people call it all demons when they're starting to see things. This is not seeing the demonic. This is starting to see the what really is out there. And as their body temples change, they will come into more acceptance of all these concepts
Yeah, and
because their body will then inform them.
I think as well, you're right. We have to keep an open mind, and I think above and beyond the open mind, it also helps us to utilize another aspect to our evolution as spiritual beings, which a lot of people are not exercising, is discernment. So you get information, you sense something, you learn new information, you see something, whatever, and you need to learn to make sense of what it is and learn to discern the truth of it, or the untruth of it, the misconception or the deception of what you see, hear, read, or come to know about. So keep an open mind, would you say, and also then learn to discern exactly, learn to be willing to discover what it is exactly, this new experience you're taking part in. I mean, would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, it's accurate, and discernment often has a lid on it because of the preconceptions. And to learn to discern, you have to learn to let go of your preconceptions of how things are. And if you cannot let go of them, you are not going to move forward and change. It's actually a good thing to have this massive confusion right now, because massive confusion forces people to think and sort.
Yeah,
And they
big
should
time.
consciously think and sort, dig through it, look at it, read it. If it looks like shit right now, excuse me, I guess I
Oh
should.
dear. Oh my gosh, she's done it now.
Yeah, I did it again. Anyway, to some people, what is real to me is not real to them, and it looks like bafooey. But they still need to look at it, and if it looks like bafooey now, they can set it on a shelf, because later on something may happen and they'll draw it off the shelf again and look at it under a new light or a new perception, and then it may not be such bafooey at a later date. But it takes time to grow mind, and it has to be challenged. And during the period of transformation like is going on Earth right now, it comes at you everywhere. And the more you build a shell against it, the more you cannot be part of it, the more you can't grow. And people need to be open to this wonder of growth. And we're overdone with the concept of sin and everything else, and all those what you cans and can't do's, and so on and so forth. And some of that needs to be dropped. And it takes
It's
a
10
willful
o'clock.
choice to drop it,
And
and put aside, and see it as your mind got programmed with this since the day you were born. Shove some of your programming to the side and look at other ideas, because that is very, very worthy to do. And it's not seen as worthy, but it is worthy. If you want to grow to become like the Father, you've got to shove aside your cultural programming and be able to look at other ideas. And it's all about looking at other ideas.
I think so.
Just look at them.
I
Just
think
look.
so. And I think it would be a good idea as well if people started to kind of get rid of this perception that if someone has new information, if someone shows you something new that you've never experienced or seen or heard of before, you shouldn't necessarily say that it's not possible, or it's impossible because of your prior experience, and then put on that person the behest of having to prove themselves. A lot of people say prove it, and unless you prove it to their satisfaction, they won't believe, or they won't understand, or
I
they won't be willing to accept it, other than to say, why don't you prove that it's not true? A lot of people can't prove that it's not true. This extraterrestrial thing, for instance, they talk about and they say it's impossible because I've never seen it. Just because you've never seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I'll just give you one more example, then I'll shut up. This is your interview, but I thought it was striking. This guy, Prabhupada, the guy who started the Hare Krishna movement, he talked about it. The guy said, he's talking about incarnation. He says, you incarnated and this happened and you've been here more than once. And the guy said, well, I don't believe you. And he says, why not? He said, because I don't remember. He said, well, you were a child once. Maybe you were sitting, under a tree and you're petting a dog and you don't remember it. Your mother does and says, you remember when you had your little dog, Woofer, and you were petting him under a tree. You don't remember that. Does that mean it didn't happen? Does that mean it didn't, exist? No, it doesn't. Just because you don't know about it, just because you don't remember it, just because you've never had the experience before, does not mean it does not exist or did not happen. I mean, is that right?
Yes, that's absolutely true. And uh, again, some of this goes back to the body forms that we're having and the nature of the experiences on this planet. But actually, you can't have all those memories of the lives before because they would impinge on this life so badly you couldn't function.
Well, you wouldn't be learning everything if you knew everything already, would you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And nobody knows everything already anyway. But
Right.
each life is another start, and most people that are reincarnating here have been the very Chinamen they hate, or the very Muslims that they hate,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or this, that, and the other. You've had people here have had experiences in many cultures on this planet, but if you've had 1,000 lifetimes and you look at just one lifetime of, let's say, 75 years, if you made it that long on this planet, and then you look at 1,000 of those, perhaps, if you had all those memories swirling through your mind at this time, it would be very
Jeez.
difficult to function. I mean, the reason you don't remember every meal you ever ate on this planet now is one reason that things have to be you have to put them in compartments and you can't remember all of
Yeah,
that.
compartmentalized. Yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
don't want to remember every time. There's no need for me to remember every time I use the John and every
Every
meal.
bad meal I ever had. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I go back over my memories, and I've lived in places where I can't fully remember exactly what it looked like, let alone
Yeah.
some things that I did. And you don't want that. If you had even your memories in this life, if they weren't put into little files somewhere, they would really muck you up. And so, the mind it's kind of like your computer. The mind, you have a hard drive on your computer and you put everything into these files. Well, as you go through life, you put everything into files so it doesn't come back. If you don't file it away someplace, you can't even function. And so that's one of the reasons that past lives are not directly remembered, is because you could not function with all that impinging on what you're doing now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
We're
you know,
we
so there's no point in remembering them.
no, 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 there's no way some of the meals I've had I want to remember, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
But
yeah, there's experiences we don't want to
we don't need to
remember.
go there again. We don't need to
And
go there again. I
as
learned
you
that
pass
lesson.
each life, you actually remove all of those little memories. When your brain goes, some of that stuff, when you pass on, your brain has stored a bunch of junk about all the meals you ate, and that doesn't continue on your eternal life with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are trashed. And what was important, the important details of that life are remembered. But also, the body has its own mind system, and that gets labeled the ego a lot. And in New Age material, anyway. And they say you've got to get out of your ego. Well, what you have to do, but most people don't have the skill to do, is that you have to set the mind that came to this life with you aside and learn meditation techniques that will allow you to connect with your previous experiences from other lives. And you can get into those and learn from them, but it takes skill. And if people don't have their own skills, that will be done under past life regression hypnosis. At some time on this planet, that will become a huge modality for healing and growth, because if you can't do it yourself, you can go to somebody who can guide that for you under a state of hypnosis and record what is said, and then you can go back and listen to that recording and learn a lot about your past lives. That allows one to access their original or real soul or their real mind that contains all of these experiences. Now, we do have people on this planet that are having their first life, so they're not going to have past lives to look at. However, some of those people have actually come up through the animals, and they have past lives as tigers, elephants, cats, dogs, or whatever, and those will show up
Oh
under
my.
regressive
Oh,
hypnosis. Yes.
all right. All right, lady. I'm just gonna cut into your time there because I'm looking at our
Okay.
clock. We're 1 hour 37 into it. We said we'd do an hour tonight, and we've just blown that out of the water. So,
Okay.
we have gone into so many topics. I think it's probably best we draw it. I'm really hoping that you might consider come back and doing an interview
Oh, sure.
for the radio show again. You'd be happy to do that?
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that and see if you can get some feedback from your listeners about it, and maybe we can build on that feedback.
Well, there's a lot to get feedback on. I just thought we better draw some of these topics to a close because we're going all over the place. I think we're going to
Yes,
be
we are.
we're gonna my head's hurting already, and so
Yeah.
so why don't we call that a night? Do you wanna say anything to end with there? Anything about your website or anything you wanted to leave with our radio audience before we wrap up your interview for today?
Well, I'll just say that I've enjoyed this experience and the opportunity, and I hope that it's been beneficial for those of you who will be listening to this on when he does broadcast it. I'll encourage you to come to my site. The Abundant Hope is spelled as one word, so don't make it two, or it won't, you won't connect properly.
Right.
And
That's
come
abundanthope.net, isn't it,
net,
Candace? Yeah.
yes. And come visit us if you never have, and see what you think. And I just ask all of you, if you've not done it before, to look at your life as you're living it right now and take charge of it.
Beautiful. I'll take your word on that. And Candace Fries, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a real pleasure and an honor. I've waited a long time to interview you, and I'm very glad we got that opportunity. So thank you very much for being with us this evening.
Okay, you're welcome, and we'll
Okay.
see you another time.
Absolutely, Candace. Thank you so much. Candace Fries, everybody, from the Abundant Hope organization, president and leader of a very important organization and one that will have a big part, at least in my opinion, and opinion of a lot of other people, in the future of the humanity and this planet. It's been a real pleasure. All right, folks, good night, and stay tuned. We'll have more in the next show, next Thursday, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. 107.9 FM, The Source Radio Fremantle with Benjamin and Robin. Thanks for listening, folks.